It was the morning after graduation, June 7th, 1992, in Springfield, Missouri. The world should have been full of nothing but possibility. For 3 women, it was. But by the next day, they were gone. Not just missing, erased. Stay tuned and let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to American True Crime Files Edition on YouTube for chilling true crime stories like this. Let's get into it. This is the story of the Springfield Three, a mother, her daughter, and the daughter's friend. They vanished from a small, tan house on East Delmar Street. No forced entry, no struggle, no bodies, no crime scene, just silence. They left behind everything: purses with money inside, cars in the driveway, cigarettes and lighters on the table. It was as if they had been plucked from the fabric of their own lives by an invisible hand. My name is Vanessa Underwood, and this is American True Crime Files. To understand how utterly baffling this case is, you have to picture the scene. The house belonged to Sherrill Levitt. She was 47, a vivacious, sharp-witted mother who worked as a cosmetologist. Her daughter, Suzie Streeter, had just graduated from Kickapoo High School the night before. She was 19, bright-eyed, with her whole life ahead of her. And staying over was Susie's friend, Stacy McCall. Also 19, also a new graduate. Stacy had actually planned to stay at another friend's house, but it was too crowded. So she and Susie decided to go back to Susie's place. A last-minute change of plans. That decision is the first of many chilling what-ifs that haunt this case. The 3 women were last seen around 2:30 a.m. after returning home from a party. The world they left behind when they went to sleep was the world they knew. The world they should have woken up to never came. The first alarm bells rang the next day. Stacy's mother, Janis, began calling. Stacy hadn't come home. She wasn't at Susie's. The phone just rang and rang. By afternoon, worry had curdled into pure dread. Janis and a friend drove to the house on East Delmar. What they found there has become the stuff of true crime legend. And it's where the solid ground of this story falls away into a bottomless pit of questions. The front door was unlocked. They walked in. The house was quiet. Too quiet. A small dog, a poodle named Cinnamon, was yapping nervously. The television was on. A pot of coffee had been made, but never poured. Sherrill's cigarettes and lighter were on the coffee table. Suzie and Stacy's purses were lined up neatly in Susie's bedroom. All their money and IDs were inside, and the porch light was broken. The glass globe was shattered on the ground as if it had been unscrewed and dropped. A single, silent sentinel of violence. But of the women themselves, there was no sign. No struggle. No overturned furniture. No blood. Their cars, Sherrill's 1986 Toyota Celica and Susie's 1983 Oldsmobile, sat parked in the driveway. 3 women vanished into thin air. The police were called. The investigation began. And almost immediately it hit a wall. There was no evidence of a break-in. No fingerprints that shouldn't have been there. No murder weapon. No witnesses who saw or heard a thing. It was an impossible crime. How do you abduct 3 grown women from a house without a single neighbor hearing a scream? Without leaving a single drop of blood? Without a single thread of clothing caught on a doorframe? Theories, of course, swirled like a toxic fog. Were the girls the target? Had they angered someone? There were rumors of a confrontation at a graduation party. A story about a boy they'd possibly upset. Someone who'd threatened them. But if that was the case, why take Sherrill? And why leave no trace? Was it Sherrill's ex-boyfriend? A man with a questionable past? He was investigated, cleared, then looked at again. He had an alibi. Nothing stuck. Then a potential lead. A call came in from a man named Robert Craig. He wasn't a suspect. He was a convict, serving time for an unrelated crime. He claimed that while working on a parking garage construction project near Cox Hospital, he and his crew had accidentally paved over the bodies of the 3 women. He said his co-workers had been talking about the missing women, and one of them had joked, "Don't worry, they're in the parking garage." The story was explosive. It was specific. It was horrifying. Police took it seriously. In 1992, and again in 1994, they used ground-penetrating radar on the garage. They found anomalies, unexplained voids in the concrete. In 1994, they actually brought in jackhammers. They drilled. They core sampled. The city held its breath. They found nothing. No bodies. No clothing. No evidence. Just concrete and dirt. Another dead end. Another ghost. Over the years, the case grew cold, but it never died. It couldn't. The sheer, brazen impossibility of it kept it alive. Amateur sleuths became obsessed. Websites were dedicated to it. Every few years, a new tip would come in, a new theory would surface. One of the most persistent involved a local serial predator, a man named Gerald Carnahan. He was a known monster, convicted later for the brutal rape and murder of a young woman. He drove a fast car, was known for violence, and was in the area at the time. He fit the profile of someone capable of such a brazen, violent act. But could he have acted alone, controlling 3 women at once? There was no physical evidence linking him to the scene. He has never been formally named a suspect, but his shadow hangs over the case. Then there's the theory of a professional hit, a mistaken identity, that the killers went to the wrong house, got spooked, and took the women to cover their tracks. But that feels like a plot from a movie. It doesn't explain the lack of forensics, the pristine nature of the scene. Perhaps the most chilling theory is that it was someone they knew, someone they let in, someone who stood in that living room, talked to them, and then, with a word or a gesture, the entire night turned to horror. This would explain the lack of forced entry, the lack of a struggle, the trust that was so profoundly violated. But who? The case file is thick with maybes and what-ifs. A psychic claimed the women were buried in a quarry. Another tip led to a well. Nothing. The original detective on the case, a man who lived with this mystery for years, was once asked what he thought happened. He said, and I quote, "I believe they were taken by more than one person, and I believe they were killed that night." He believed it was a sexual motive, that the girls were the target, and Sherrill was collateral damage. But it was, and remains, a theory. What makes the Springfield Three case so uniquely haunting isn't just the mystery. It's the artifacts they left behind. The mundane details of a life interrupted. Susie's graduation cap and gown. The uneaten food in the fridge. The unmade beds. It's the mother, Sherrill, who had just talked to her own mother on the phone that night, making plans for the next day. It's Stacy McCall, who had simply gone to the wrong house for a sleepover. It's the devastating, endless grief of the families. The yearly vigils. The desperate hope that has, over 3 long decades, been worn down to a dull, constant ache. The house on East Delmar still stands. It's been painted. Other families have lived there. Life has stubbornly moved on. But for those who know its history, it remains a monument to one of the most perfect and most terrifying crimes ever committed. 3 women went to bed in their own home, and when the sun rose, they were gone. The only witness was a broken porch light, and it has kept its secret for over 30 years. The bizarre case of the Springfield Three remains a wide-open wound, a question with no answer, a puzzle with the most important pieces missing forever. And somewhere, someone knows the truth. This has been American True Crime Files. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, please contact the Springfield, Missouri Police Department. Subscribe to American True Crime Files and hit the bell for deep dives into the world's most chilling, unsolved cases. New episodes every week. What do you think happened to the Springfield Three? Share your theories in the comments below.